Hey, greetings everyone. It is GleeCon, and I'm here again bringing you another episode of Lore of Warcraft. Thanks for tuning in. On our last episode, we wrapped up a kind of a side jaunt, the test of lore, the first half of it that comes out of Thousand Needles. We're getting close to wrapping up that zone in a way, but we'll discuss that more next time. The lore that we read on the test of lore was actually a lot about the history of the dragons, which dovetails nicely with what we're reading about in this book, The War of the Scaleborn. This is a book where it's building up to why there was a rift between the Primals and the aspects, the Order Dragons. And on the last one, we also kind of saw why the dragons eventually take on humanoid forms. So stay a while and listen as we get into Chapter 6 of War of the Scaleborn. Far to the north, the skies were bruised and the clouds deepened to the afternoon to dusk. Iridikron slitted his eyes against the storm's fury. The stone-scaled was cautious even in his anger. He had watched Razageth's fury knock full-grown dragons from the sky, pluck ancient trees from the ground by their roots, and with his help, stir up massive waves to strike the northern shores. The high winds tore at his wings, but his scales were hard and heavy as stone, giving him stability in Razageth's storm. Even so, he was never truly safe in her tempests. Razageth, he thought, narrowing his eyes against the high winds. What are you doing, whelp? The Storm Eater knew not to unleash her storms this close to Harrow's Deep, where she could disrupt the delicate, dangerous work Iridikron and his wing leaders performed underground. Like the Incarnate herself, Razageth's storms were unpredictable, wild. Today, her thunder had echoed into the very heart of Harrow's Deep, thwarting an attempt to shift the bones of the earth in the east. Disgruntled, Iridikron had gone to confront the Storm Eater himself. Razageth would not listen to a wing leader when she rarely listened to Iridikron. At best, a lackey would be ignored. At worst, they would be killed. Iridikron would not sacrifice the lives of his commanders to Razageth's unpredictability. "Razageth!" he called over the high winds. "Cease this storm!" If Razageth could hear him, she did not respond. Instead, she boomed, "Did you think to return to us and throw yourself upon our mercy? I will tear every last scale from your hide. I will kill you for what you have done." A pained scream cut through the night. The cry was not Razageth's. It sounded familiar, but Iridikron could not quite place its timbre in the storm. He scented blood on the air, but the snow reduced visibility. Curious, Iridikron skirted outer gales, circling Razageth and her prey. With a roar, Razageth shot great bolts of lightning from her horns, electrifying a small dragon. The dragon seized, its wings stretching wide in agony, neck arching. The brilliance of the light seared a peculiar silhouette into Iridikron's sight. That was an ordered black dragon, a small one, but one from Neltharion's flight nonetheless. The dragon plummeted through the air for several seconds before regaining consciousness, opened their wings, and weakly halted their descent. What business did one of the Ordered have so far north and alone? Ordered dragons usually traveled in packs of 5 or 6, particularly when flying through the dragon wilds. Had the aspects sent a spy, hoping the little dragon would be overlooked? No. Something else is at play here, Iridikron mused. He had no doubt that Neltharion had pawns in Harrow's Deep. He would expect nothing less of the Earth Warder. No matter how often his so-called Dragon Queen declared peace, Iridikron and Neltharion had already begun a deadly dance for supremacy and survival. Razageth dived. Another scream tore through the storm, but this time a familiar scent crept into Iridikron's snout, one he had known since his days as a whelp. Icronia, he wondered, cruising closer. Sister? No, it cannot be. Iridikron's anger bubbled from the deep dark cockles of his stone heart, then cooled into something unbreakable and black. The little soft scale. Iridikron hadn't seen his clutch sister in so long he'd thought her dead. Perhaps it would be better if she were. Had he not warned her about the dangers of order magic? Did she not understand how such magic shackled her to the whims of an unknowable force? They could not know what the Titans would ask of them, nor how deep the stain of order magic ran. Iridikron had half a mind to let Razageth kill Icronia for her betrayal. The stone-scaled circled closer, watching Razageth continue to torment the smaller dragon. Despite his cold fury, Iridikron could see an opportunity in this situation too. He could study Icronia, thus learning more about the aspects and their abilities. Or perhaps he could send her right into Neltharion's ranks. Either way, she was worth more to the Incarnates alive. If he saved her life, she would be a perfect pawn.
Razageth,
Iridikron thundered.
release my sister at once!
The Storm Eater halted her assault, turning her gaze on Iridikron. Icronia called out to him, her voice hazy with pain. The little dragon could barely keep herself aloft, but Iridikron felt no pity for her. She had made her choices. Now she would live with the consequences or die by them.
Icronia has betrayed you, the Storm Eater replied, tossing her head. Now she thinks she can throw herself on your mercy. I will not allow it. That is not your decision to make,
Iridikron said. The storm around them roared. Razageth pivoted in the air, lightning snapping between her massive horns.
Will you try to stop me? She asked with a wild laugh. Will you save an ordered dragon from her fate? Your sister deserves death. We should kill her now and send her corpse back to her keepers.
Iridikron growled in response.
Has your heart grown soft, stone-scaled?
Razageth snapped, lightning dancing across her mane.
Or perhaps your sympathies now lie with the keepers. Let us see.
Razageth flapped her wings forward, shooting great bolts of lightning at Icronia. The lightning consumed the little black dragon, and she shrieked in pain. With a roar, Iridikron pumped his great wings, spiraled in the air, then turned and dived. In the glare of her own lightning, the Storm Eater did not see him coming. Iridikron slammed into Razageth, hooking his talons into her side. Her lightning coursed through his frame, ineffective against stone. She shrieked and lashed at him, her talons glancing off his chest.
Release me!
She bellowed.
No.
Iridikron closed his wings. Razageth could not support their combined weight. Together, they dropped like a stone, hurtling toward the forests below. If Iridikron wanted to subdue the Storm Eater, he needed to force her to the ground. The same stone scales that protected him from Razageth's fury were a disadvantage in aerial combat. Razageth thrashed and shrieked in Iridikron's grip. The earth rushed toward them. Iridikron released her with a kick to the underbelly, sending her sprawling into the snow-capped trees. Iridikron opened his wings and caught the winds racing over her head. Razageth tumbled into a clearing covered in mud, snow, and brush. The scent of fresh sap filled the air. He banked and landed nearby. The earth trembled beneath him. On the far side of the clearing, Icronia collapsed into a snowdrift and did not move. Iridikron would deal with her next. With a wild, half-choked roar, Razageth pushed herself to her feet. She shook her head and slammed her wing talons into the ground, sending snow spraying in all directions.
You will pay for that!
She screamed.
Yield, Iridikron said. Your storms cannot break stone.
Never! Razageth shrieked. She opened her wings and tried to leap into the air, but Iridikron tapped a wing talon on the ground. The gravitational forces shifted underfoot. Razageth faltered, then crashed back into the snow with a grunt. She tried to leap aloft again, only to stumble forward. Razageth glared at him.
What are you doing to me?
She shook snow off her snout and growled.
Yield, Razageth, Iridikron replied. I have no desire to fight you.
The Storm Eater snarled, her lip curling.
Let me kill the runt and I will. No, I have use for Icronia yet, Iridikron said. Can you not see how she could be a great boon to our cause? Calm your storms, sister. She will meet her just fate in time, but only after she has exceeded her use.
The Storm Eater grumbled, though her howling winds settled. The snow continued to fall, gently now, forming a thin layer on Iridikron's wings and scales.
I expect you to repay me 100-fold, Iridikron. I want to hear our enemy's screams echoing through the Broodlands. And you shall, my friend, Iridikron replied, turning toward Icronia's motionless form. Where did you find my wayward sister? Nearby, Razageth replied. She wanted to throw herself at your feet and beg for your mercy. Can you imagine? Do you know how she came to be ordered? Iridikron asked as he strode toward the little dragon. Icronia continued to breathe, but barely. No, Razageth replied, following him. They paused beside Icronia's bleeding form. Doesn't matter. The betrayal is the same. It may, Iridikron said. I would be very interested to know if Icronia was forced or coerced to accept order magic, or if she made that choice of her own free will. She seems very naive, Razageth replied with a hiss. I will never understand how the two of you came from the same clutch.
was all Ridicon said in response. Acronia had always allowed others to do her thinking for her, which was less of an issue when she listened to someone with wisdom and discretion. She would make a poor spy, but still Ridicron did not want her in Harrow's Deep. It would not do to have an ordered dragon seen among his ranks. So Ridicron moved his sister into a small cavern near his lair. He covered her wounded body in a blanket of soft earth, filled the deep scores in her hide with silt, and set her broken legs and tail with stone braces. He coaxed magma into the room, warming the space. While he worked, he thought about how best to weaponize his sister against the Aspects. Over the last 2 centuries, Ridicron had worked quietly to undermine the Aspects' work in the Broodlands. Most recently, he and his wing leaders shifted the earth and caused quakes, disrupting the Dragonflight's work. More important, Ridicron subverted the Aspects in the Dragon Wilds. He and his followers spoke to their kind about the effects of order magic, claimed the flights pushed primal dragons out of their hunting grounds, and blamed everything from strange weather patterns to vanishing dragons on the ordered dragons. It was made all the easier to recruit followers when the Aspects mostly hid within their borders. As for Viranoth, well, he had made plans for her too. The Ice Dragon had a beneficent streak he meant to exploit, and the more she felt the Aspects were harming the primal dragons, the better. He would give Viranoth good reason to turn against the Dragon Queen in time. He needed the right pawn, the right ambassador, to take the primal dragon's complaints to the Ice Dragon. Razageth too could help him on this front. The Storm Eater was known for her excursions around the Dragon Wilds and beyond, and she had a wide web of friends in far-flung places. The friendship between Razageth and Viranoth had grown apace, and it was one upon which Ridicron meant to capitalize. Razageth watched from the cavern's threshold, unamused.
Acronia is too weak to be of any use to our cause, Ridicron. The whelp can't fight. Wars are not won on the battlefield, Razageth, but in hearts and minds,
Ridicron said quietly.
Acronia may serve well on that front, provided she is given the proper direction.
The Storm Eater stalked into the cavern, making a disgusted noise at the back of her throat.
What are you talking about?
Ridicron turned, his scales rasping on the stone below him.
When she wakes, take her to the borders of the Broodlands, and command her to burn the villages of Terrasec or mortals. I care not. Leave enough alive to spread the word. Cry chaos, rain fire from the skies. Make the ground quake. Draw storms down from above if you must, but only Acronia is to be seen. Do you understand?
Yes, Razageth said with a cackle.
Good,
Ridicron replied, stalking from the cavern.
Go forth and destroy, Storm Eater. It is what you do best.
Okay, so we have, that's an important tool that Ridicron will be able to use to weaken the efforts of the Ordered Dragons. All right, he has that, and we have another episode in the pipe 5x5. Thank you as always for watching, for tuning in, and I will see you all next time on Lore of Warcraft.